So welcome to this dive-in session. My name's Dominic Lieber. I'm a diamond approach teacher. And I was thinking really like an advocate, it's perhaps a good word, of the practice of inquiry. Like I believe this practice is so valuable, has so much to offer. And these monthly free sessions are really part of my efforts to make that practice sort of more widely known, so people can get to know it and talk about it and find out about it. In each meeting, we really address some particular angle of inquiry, something about the practice, or some either how it works or how it can be useful. And we've done already a couple of sessions around mindfulness and inquiry. And today we're going to continue that theme. So mindfulness, or meditation in general, of course, is one particular way, one very well-known. Unlike inquiry, meditation is a very well-known way of engaging your inner world, right? Of becoming aware of what's going on inside you and practicing with it in a certain very particular way. And today, we're going to have a look at how inquiry can be an enormous support for meditation. So if you are somebody who is a meditator, or if you're watching this afterwards and you're somebody who is a meditator, we're going to show you, I'm going to share with you some ways in which inquiry may be able to help you with your meditation practice. So that's a little bit what we're going to look at this evening. So a reminder that this is a public space, so anybody is welcome to come along and to show up. There's no sort of screening or anything like that. We record the sessions, so everything that is said in this main meeting room is recorded and, will become part of the video that is shared. What happens in the breakout room is entirely private and confidential. And if you stay on and you do the exercise in the breakout room, you agree to that. You agree to keeping everything that happens in there strictly confidential. So we do that to create a safe space for inquiry. So what else? Anything else I need to say by way of introduction? I think that just about covers it. Maybe also to say that we have a wide range of experience here. So I can see some of you in the room that I know have been inquiring for, decades, and some of you who are really new to it and just discovering the practice. And that's intentional. That's also part of this space, that hopefully there is something for people of all different levels of experience. And, we can all as a community learn from each other. So there really is a lot we can learn through this. I want a quick show of hands. Who here is I should almost ask, who isn't a regular meditator? Who doesn't have a regular meditation practice? Is there anyone here who doesn't meditate in any way? No. Okay, I don't see any hands going up. Ah, there's one, Noel. Hey, Noel. Don't have your picture on, but thanks for raising your hand for that. So this is going to be an interesting experiment for you. You're going to get to try out a bit of meditation and a bit of inquiry. So you might see something about these two different modes of working with your inner world. So we usually begin these sessions, and we'll do that now in the same way, with a short practice. So what I'd like you to do, because these are practical sessions, we don't want them to be just theoretical, me talking at you. I want you to find out something, for yourself, something practical and interesting. So find a comfortable meditation posture for yourself. So for most people, that'll mean seated. That'll mean sitting upright and relaxed, so that your spine can be upright, not tense, not collapsed, so that you might fall asleep, but in a way that supports you being awake and conscious, but without distraction or tension. And I'm going to invite you to let your eyes close and take a breath. And just notice where you are as we begin. Just notice how you're feeling, where you're at in this moment of your day. Maybe the beginning, maybe the end. How your energy is, how your mind is. And you've made this little bit of time, this time to be close to yourself, to find out something about yourself. So feel your feet on the ground, the actual contact of your feet with the ground, the sensations of your feet and your legs. And feel your bum in the chair. Contact with the chair, the support of the chair. And from the ground and the seat, you want to feel your spine rising up with its natural curve. Slightly lengthen your neck, like by dipping your chin, just to release any tension there. Sense up the back of your head, over the top. And then come down the front. So sense your face. Relax any tension in your eyes. Maybe wiggle your jaw just to relax everything there. Let your tongue rest behind your top teeth on the upper palate. And then bring your attention down into your torso. Noticing the movement of your torso, your chest, your ribs as you breathe. And then coming all the way down to your belly, to your lower belly, the area below your belly button. Now, if you have a regular meditation practice, you can do your meditation practice, whatever that is. So if you do a mindfulness practice, if you're doing the kath concentration practice, if you're doing the diamond samadhi practice, whatever it is, feel free to do your meditation practice. I'm going to walk us into the kath concentration practice, and we'll do that for a few minutes. And you can join us with that, or you can do your own meditation. So sense the sensations of your lower belly. You can cup one hand in the other and then rest them both up against your lower belly. So you have the warmth of your hands against your lower belly. And you want to tune into whatever sensations you can sense there. You're just letting yourself get in touch with whatever actual palpable sensations are there. Maybe the warmth of your hand, it may be the movement of your belly wall as you breathe. The sensations may be very subtle, might not be easy to feel them, but you just do your best to sense whatever you can sense there. Maybe the fullness of your dinner or your breakfast. The general area below your belly button. In the center of the area is about a couple of finger widths down and a couple of finger widths inside from your belly button. So you're placing your attention there and sensing whatever you can sense. You may sense some kind of tingling or presence, energy. You may sense not much of anything. And it will probably change moment to moment. So for this concentration meditation, your job, your practice is simply to keep sensing that part of your belly, sensing your lower belly, abiding with the sensations that are there. There can be other things happening, thoughts and feelings and sounds in your environment. It's all fine. You don't have to do anything about it. But for the purpose of this practice, it's not important. You're letting that go and you're giving all your attention to the sensations of your belly as much as you can. So if you find yourself getting involved in thinking or anything like that, as soon as you notice that, you come back to sensing your belly. So the practice is to sense the sensations of your belly, and whenever you find you've wandered off, to return to sensing your belly. And we're going to sit together for a few minutes and just practice in that way. If your attention has wandered off, then notice that and simply come back to sensing your lower belly. And then on an exhale, you can release the concentration. Let go of the practice. Let your awareness begin to open up, to take in more of your experience. Noticing the sensations that are here in your body. Noticing how you're feeling now, how your mind is. Sensing your arms and your legs. Maybe taking a moment to sense the immediate sensations of your arms and your legs. Becoming present in your arms and your legs. And then consciously listening. Consciously sensing the sound, hearing the sounds. And then finally let your eyes begin to open and begin looking. So you're bringing in your visual sense. Lights and colors, texture, space, objects, the whole room. So, we just did a little meditation practice. How'd that go? How was that for you? Were you able to abide continuously with the sense of your belly? And probably you were for some time. And maybe there were times when other things happened, when you went off or something else was going on. So if you like, just write in the chat. Write something about what are the things that came up. Like, if you weren't just continuously, steadily abiding with the sensations of your belly, what else was going on? Sleepiness. The usual monkey mind. I'm going to take it that's the words of a regular meditator. The usual monkey mind. Sleepiness. Physical relaxation. Daydreams and restlessness. Thoughts. Various thoughts interrupting my focus. My son's visit. Conscious that a sense of presence cuts out the background thinking. Oh, interesting. Yeah, new sensations in the body. So a variety of different things coming up. Hypnotized by past and future fantasies, thoughts and feelings, exploring the feelings and the history, right? It's very tempting, right? Especially if you're into your inquiry, you sit down to meditate and you spend your whole time inquiring, right? Like engaging with the content and exploring it, physical restlessness, thoughts about meditation and why I find it difficult, right? Relaxing, but drifting away, right? Distracted by anxieties. So, and I'm going to ask you another question. I'm really interested. So how do you feel about those? The particular barrier that you just mentioned there, right? What's your, how do you feel about it? What's your relationship to it? Or what do you usually do with that? Do you like just curse and wish it wasn't there? Damn, I wish my monkey mind would just stop. I feel hopeless about it. So familiar. Oh, yes. Yeah. What else? Boredom with my belly. So boredom. The feeling of boredom comes up as a barrier. Right? Boredom with sensing the belly. The distinct pull of certain thoughts. Right. So certainly they've got this pull. Try to remind myself to come back. Try to gently return. Working towards compassion for myself, watching and dealing with the superego. Oh, I'm glad you mentioned that. Glad you mentioned the superego and dealing with it. Frustration with the distractions, feeling incapable, distracted by avoiding the feelings of being inadequate because we're not good at it. Right, so there's something so much that happens. We sit down to meditate, we fail at it, and then we just feel rubbish about it. Desire to sense more than I am, right? Like disappointed with what's there. Sadness, don't know why I'm doing that, right? So all of this, assuming the dynamic will never change, right? So I actually find it quite moving in the moment it actually touches me. And it really touches me, the amount of suffering that we find in our meditation practice. Right? That actually in doing this practice that we engage so earnestly and we're kind of told to do and it's supposed to have all these benefits, that you can see really there's a lot of suffering in it, a lot of difficulty that we kind of usually gloss over and just try and muscle through. So for a lot of people, meditation practice becomes like it's like a slog. You do it because you're supposed to, because you have to. You get these occasional moments of, the beautiful silence, which is great. And then you're kind of chasing the dragon, hoping that that'll happen again. And, stuck with all the stuff that happens in between. Take a breath. Take a breath as we just contemplate the challenges of meditation practice, really. These challenges. Now I want to just put something to you, just to consider. Just to consider. What if, did it ever occur to you? What if you just got really curious about it? What if you just got really interested in whatever it was that came up that got in the way? Did that ever occur to you? Did it ever occur to you to think, oh, there's some little part of me that's thinking the whole time? I wonder what that is. What is this little part of me that's having all these thoughts? What's going on there? What is this part of me that's so bored or so frustrated? So to consider the orientation of inquiry, that kind of friendly, curious, open to find out, not assuming that anything is a problem or broken, but there's something there to discover. How about that? Just feel how that lands. So, the fact is that when we do sit down and start getting quiet, if our meditation is working, as I've said before in the previous session we did on mindfulness, you lower yourself down into the ocean of your inner world, you meditate, you just hang out there, and you're going to notice things going by. Thoughts and feelings and sensations and reactions and things from the day. And the longer you meditate and the more you meditate and the more you get into your journey, whether it's primarily a meditation journey or primarily an inquiry journey, in a sense, the more the light of your awareness penetrates into your inner world, the more you're going to start exposing the creatures in the deep, right? The things deep inside your psyche that are there, but, maybe usually hidden from view. And so it's actually a very natural thing that in meditation, all kinds of things start popping into our awareness. We have this idea, we're going to meditate, it's going to get nice and still and quiet. I'm going to get good at doing that, and it's just going to stay like that. And I'm sorry to disillusion you, but I think that's mostly not how it goes. And so there is a very interesting question as to how do we work with that content? How do we work with what comes up in the meditation? And even for Diamond Approach students, I notice this is not something that we do much, right? We use meditation and then we do inquiry. But it's really not often that people use the inquiry to actually go back into the meditation and see, what was that about? What was going on there? What's actually happening in my meditation practice? And it's an amazingly useful thing to do, right? It's amazingly useful. So you can sit, you can meditate for however long you meditate for. And in the period of your meditation, what you do is meditate. You follow the instructions of your meditation. So if your meditation is to keep returning to the belly, you do your best. God knows all kind of stuff might be going on. Doesn't matter. That's fine. There's no problem with stuff going on, at least in terms of the meditation instruction. The instruction is simple. As soon as you realize you've gone off, which you probably will do at some point, you just come back to sensing your belly. So if that's the instruction of your meditation, in your period of meditation, that's what you do. If you're doing a mindfulness meditation, you follow whatever that instruction is. So you just keep doing your practice in the period. Afterwards is a whole nother story, right? Afterwards, everything is fair game. So after your period of meditation, you can do a little period of inquiry. You could sit down and say, well, gosh, okay, so what actually happened in that meditation? What was going on for me? Well, I sat down and then it kind of got sort of quiet for a few minutes. And then I started thinking about whatever it was I was thinking about. And I got lost sort of off on that. Okay. So most times I hear people, for example, with more from the mindfulness tradition, their sort of approach is, well, I have to let go of that part. I have to make it stop. Like there's this monkey mind and, like all the kind of frustration and so on that we can have. So to bring inquiry, to sit there and to go, well, that's really interesting. So what is this little part of my mind that's kind of buzzing around up here and having all of these thoughts? Yeah, where's that coming from inside me? What's it thinking about? What's the topic that it's worried about? I wonder how it's feeling, right? And the more you talk about it and explore into it, at some point you might recognize, oh, there's a feeling there, right? That's worried or anxious or scared or angry, sad. There might be some kind of emotion or feeling in there. And all you're noticing is kind of the thoughts, right? But as you kind of begin to inquire into it and you see, well, the thoughts, feelings, sensations, you talk about what is going on there and you can begin to see, you can begin to discover more of what's there. And the more you see it and explore it and open it up, right, the thing naturally begins opening up and transforming in a way that doesn't happen so easily just by simply meditating, just by purely trying to concentrate, or even if you're doing a mindfulness practice, like just being aware of it. Just being aware of it is not the same thing as actually beginning to articulate it and to describe it and to talk about it in an immediate live way. So often, like I've been doing this experiment a lot with people recently because I'm so intrigued by it. And, you say, oh, okay, well, they're like, I'm thinking there's some whole thing. And you say, okay, so what is that little part? What if you just turn the focus of your attention around and just look at that little part of you that's having all those thoughts? What do you find there? What's the sense of self there? Oftentimes, people discover something young. It's like, oh, there's some little young part of me. It actually feels like a 6-year-old, little 6-year-old who's sitting there and kind of feeling scared and alone. Oh, okay, so that's what's going on. So in your meditation practice where you've been like, I just want to stay with my belly, it's like you're staying with your belly with a 6-year-old running around behind you who's feeling lonely and anxious and afraid. And what you keep doing is like, no, go away. I'm trying to concentrate on my belly, but it doesn't work, right? It's not effective. Or it's kind of brute force, you just keep pulling yourself back. Whereas the minute you recognize that young part of you, oh, see, like it's lonely, scared, you recognize something about like being at school and having to get it right. And here you are doing your meditation, you can't get it right. And it pings you back to this young sense of yourself, trying to get it right, failing, going to get into trouble. You see all the fear and the stress and the anxiety of that little one. And something in your heart just goes like, oh, makes you sad, like the compassion and sadness for all that suffering, all that struggle. Some little part of your soul that's caught as a 6-year-old is whizzing around and just trying to feel better. So do you get a sense of how powerful the inquiry can be there? At bringing into consciousness after the event, you can still go back and talk about it. You can go back and talk about what happened, what's it like. The more you talk about it, the more it may well come to life in your experience again for you to explore and go more deeply into. So young parts of us, that's like one big whole category, enormous category of things. And in fact, the more successful you are with your meditation, the deeper and quieter you go, the more likely you are to find little young parts of you that are terrified of that. Right? There you are, and there's part of you going, oh, the infinite emptiness. It just feels wonderful. And there's another little part of you feels like a little kid left alone in a dark room, petrified, right, of this wonderful emptiness that some other part of you is really attached to. And so you sit down to meditate, and it's just turmoil, yeah, until you can bring it to light. Another barrier, big barrier, huge barrier that people don't engage with enough is their superego, their inner critic. So you sit there and you're meditating and you feel shit because you're not doing it right and you can't do it right and it never goes well and your concentration's all over the place. And basically you've got your inner critic in your shoulder, on your ear, telling you that you're useless and you're never going to get this right and everybody else is good at doing this. And what the hell is wrong with you? Why can't you do this? It's really not so difficult. It can be a whole litany of judgment and criticism going on, effectively going on, right? And we try and obscure it or like pretend it's not there, don't want to feel it, don't want to recognize it, don't want to acknowledge the sort of the judgment and all of that that's going on. And of course, what's the effect of it? It makes you feel hopeless and miserable and makes you feel depressed, like you're never going to get it right. And actually what's happening is your superego is just jumping all over you with your meditation practice. Your inquiry can help you recognize this, because in the meditation itself, it's not really within the confines of the meditation practice itself. If you're doing it really sort of impeccably, you're just doing the practice. So you're just coming back to your belly. You're not really getting into an argy-bargy with your superego. But afterwards, as I say, anything is fair game. So afterwards, you can bring out, okay, so there's this voice in my ear, hacking at me, telling me how crap I am and how terrible I am at meditation and how I'm never going to get that right. And you can inquire into that. You can start by just making it all explicit. Like, what are all the judgments? If you actually speak out everything that voice is saying to you, you will begin to understand why you feel so rubbish. Right? Because it's sitting there telling you you're hopeless and useless and worthless and never going to get it right. I mean, anybody's going to feel a bit lousy with, with that litany going in their ear. And with your inquiry, you can bring it out. You can see it. You can see how it affects you. You can be impacted by that. And at a certain point, you'll probably start responding to that. You see, in the meditation itself, you don't really want to be engaging, responding to the content of your experience, getting busy with it. But afterwards, like as you're in the dynamic process of inquiry, right, it's totally up. You're like, yeah, there's my superego. There it is. It's like sitting over here and it's telling me all these terrible things. You're like, how do I feel about it? Like, God, it makes me feel terrible. It makes me feel lousy and I feel depressed and all my energy goes down. Do I like this? Seriously, I don't like this one bit. Right? I don't like this. That might become very obvious to you. You just feel like, I don't like this. I want you to stop. And some kind of response might start coming that will then bring what's needed to actually start challenging that superego. Contrary to popular views, I mean, I don't want to go in a whole sideshow on the superego, but you can't just compassion your way out of the superego. Compassion is an important part of it. You need to feel compassion. You will feel naturally compassion for the suffering that it's causing you as you recognize it. And at some point, you're going to want to feel a certain amount of strength coming up, going, I just don't want to take this anymore. I am not going to be spoken to like this. So all of these things will naturally arise in inquiry. So child parts, inner critic. I mean, the list of barriers is very long. I'm not going to even try and go into all of them. But some of you mentioned feelings, like particular feelings that come up. A feeling of boredom, or a feeling of frustration, or a feeling of, well, whatever it might be. Again, it's wonderful to inquire into it afterwards. You sit down, you go, well, what is this frustration? What is this experience of boredom? Let me find out about it. Some part of me is bored as hell here, right? Let's just find out about it. What's making that happen? It's happening in your psyche for some intelligent reason, coming from some particular part of you that's just not yet recognized. So you can find out about it. You see, you really don't have to be hopeless or at the mercy of the content of your meditation, right? You can practice, and then you can take a little time afterwards to look into what it was that came up, whatever it might be. Maybe it was sensations. God, I was sitting there, I was all doing fine until I had this terrifying sensation of something going on in my belly. I didn't even want to keep placing my attention on my belly because it felt like it might explode, like there was a volcano there or something. Well, afterwards, you can really inquire into that. What is that sensation? What's happening there? Let me take my time, go slow, hang out with it, find out about it. Find out about the reaction I'm having to it. So I'm just really wanting to show you a very practical way to use the practice, which is after a period of meditation, to take some time to actually inquire into what came up in the meditation itself. I mean, you can even do it when the meditation is working really well. You sit down, you meditate, beautiful sense of stillness and peace and emptiness, and it's just bliss. Sit there for half an hour, come out of it. Guess what? You could still inquire into that. You can still go, okay, so what was this? Oh, it feels deep and still, and I sense the stillness in my heart, but it feels like it spreads out, and actually it feels like the size of the whole universe. And oh, as I'm recognizing that, it seems to get even bigger and deeper, stiller, more profound. Right? I start to feel some kind of density, and that's like immense, dense, vast. Right? So the experience can unfold and you can discover more about it. Like, wow, I didn't know I could experience my consciousness like this vast, dense field of immense stillness. How is that for me? Yeah, it's great. And something in me gets a little nervous with it. Some reaction. Begin to get curious about that. So the point is simply that you can bring more illumination, more discrimination, and more clarity to whatever it is that is arising in your meditation, whether it's a barrier or whether it's something wonderful. I had a vision, some kind of vision arose. Oh, what was the vision? It's all like this. Like an angel appeared, some kind of luminosity. Oh, okay, well, that's interesting. Wow, what's it like to have a vision? As I have that image, I see that image of that angel, that presence. Like, how does that make me feel? What's it kind of bringing up in my consciousness? You can just explore it. I think you get the gist. So I want to give you a chance to do this for yourself some. And what we're going to do, you're going to get into a breakout room. If you want to do the exercise, you don't have to. If you don't want to do the exercise, come back in about 20 minutes. You'll find yourself in a breakout room with one other person. And I want you to do like 8 minutes of meditation. So it's a little bit longer than just a short 5 minutes. Do 8 minutes. And if you like, you can do the kath meditation, the belly meditation that we did to start. Just bringing your attention to your belly, doing your best to just keep doing that. As I say, if you have some other meditation, you're welcome to do that. So you sit together, you do 8 minutes. At the end of the 8 minutes, one person will take 5 minutes to do a monologue, And you want to look into what came up in your meditation. What was arising there? Just talk about it, explore the feelings, the meanings, the sensations, right? To explore it in as direct and interested a way as you can, just with no goal, but just to be interested in it, to kind of find out about it as much as you can, right? If something came up, you just want to find out about it. What was that thing that came up? Like some part of your psyche. Just want to be curious. Yeah, so you do that for 5 minutes. The other person is a completely silent, neutral witness. They say nothing, they don't react. They're just there, present, sensing their arms and legs, being there with you while you do your monologue. And then you swap over and the other person has a turn. And they take 5 minutes to look into what came up for them in their meditation. Okay? So might be all of these things often get lumped under the term distractions. And what we want to do here is we want to see that what are distractions in meditation really are just doorways for inquiry. Okay. So that'll take 8 minutes plus 5 minutes each, 10 minutes, 18 minutes, and we'll have 2 minutes or so for coming and going and saying hello. And then do your exercise, time yourselves, and then come back fairly promptly, and we'll have a few minutes at the end for sharing and discussion. All right, so enjoy the exercise, have an interesting discovery and inquiry, and we'll see you back here afterwards. So we have some time, some questions, comments, sharing. I'd love to hear how that was for you, what you discover. Was it useful? Anything you'd like to share? John, we'll try and hear from a couple of people. So please, and especially if you don't usually talk, feel invited. Yeah, John.
Yeah, thanks, Tom. I have a quick question, hopefully quick. Been trying to do the kath meditation for about 7 years, and basically have really felt nothing in those 7 years. Just curious about, is an inquiry into while doing a meditation on your kath meditation. So I no?
No.
Okay.
So,
I was sitting, okay.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was sitting there during this meditation, like, okay, what am I feeling now? Describe it. What, to sense into like the shape of it. How does it feel? And that felt more like an inquiry than a meditation. So
I understand. So I'm glad you made that distinction. So that's a very interesting thing. I've actually been recently like beginning kath meditations like that. So to actually start off taking some time to actually articulate and express into what you can sense there as a way of helping make it more tangible and helping you find kind of, as it were, an anchor there. So I think that's very useful. Personally, I think that's a sort of skillful means question for the meditation. So to start off like that, and even if you inquire into it and you're like, well, it feels kind of clear and not much, but I can sense there's some kind of not muchness there, right? It feels kind of empty or not much, but I can sense that and I can be in touch with it. Then you've got something you can be in touch with, right? So it's often helpful to have a tangible sensation of some kind, even if it is literally just the warmth of your hand against your belly. It's another great one. Like, okay, I can feel the warmth of my hand there. Yes. Okay, I'm going to hang with that.
So that's a starting off point.
I think it's a very good starting off point. I think there can be some debate about how much to use it actually within the practice. Honestly, my inclination would be, if you're really struggling, like use that to help you get in touch. And once you've got in touch with something, then, then just abide with it. Because the recognizing and articulating is adding something additional, right? And in the meditation practice itself, you just want to be in touch with the sensations. You don't need to sort of articulate it. But I think the inquiry and the articulation is helpful in getting in touch. So actually you've kind of raised another very helpful way that a light touch of inquiry can be a good support for meditation.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. So I jumped in too soon with my knee-jerk response. Sometimes people sit there and get into a whole, what you don't want to do, I guess, just to clarify that, you don't want to get into a whole long inquiry, right? What's there? What's making my kath do that? Or, not like that. But if you're just talking about helping you to be in touch with it and recognize what's there in order to be in touch with it, I think that sounds good.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no. Hey, no.
Hello. Hi.
Nice to meet you.
You too. It's like just scratching the very edge of the surface. There's a process within me that I've begun to notice over the last period of time. And I'll give you not an example. It arose in that practice again, but I'll just give you a sideways one that I've noticed. Like if someone recommends a book or a movie to me, immediately I cannot experience the book or the movie. I've jumped immediately into, I've got to get it the way they got it and what's good about it, or I'll never get it and I can't engage with it. And then 2 years later, I happen upon that movie or book without any of that attached and I experience it. It's the same with meditation. It's like I've tried meditating various times over the years, but I've always gone in with there's some way it's meant to be done and it's meant to be gotten and experienced in a particular way. And then, of course, the counterpoint is I'll never be able to do that. So I'm only over between one and the other. But in that practice, what was coming to me, I think out of your encouragement to bring curiosity in, was I was letting the question arise, or it arose itself, was, well, why do meditation? I'm not asking you that, I'm asking me that. Why would I do meditation? No matter what anybody else has ever said about it or to me, why would I do meditation? And I think I could sit in that for 20 years asking myself that question.
So in the meditation itself, of course, your job is just to notice the question and come back to the belly. But afterwards, as we're doing now, what if you ask that question sincerely? Like, why do this? What makes me do this? And see, what do you see about that?
Well, I'll answer you with the very first response that comes up just there. It's part of that process I described. Oh, someone else says they get something good out of it. So I'm looking to see, can I get that? So I'm wanting something.
Okay. So there's something you're wanting. So there's some part of you here that's wanting something. You have a sense of what you're wanting?
Well, there's a counterpart to that, because on the other side of I want something, there's also an assumption that I don't have something, that I'm inadequate in some way.
Okay. So again, slow it right down and just check and see, is there some feeling of some part of you or something in you that feels inadequate? Like, where's that coming from? Is it just an idea? Is there a feeling there?
Yeah, it's an internal feeling of constantly running, is running the right word right now? It's a mix of efforting, running. It's related to everybody else or somebody else knows, be it a god, be it a priest, be it a whoever else, someone else knows how to do this living, and being in this world, and I don't know where to go looking to find
Very good.
that. So there's no peace in that. And prior to that coming into my awareness, what was bubbling up was the word stillness, whether it was the quality of stillness or a concept of stillness, but stillness somewhere arose in me before I saw the bit of me that is never still, is constantly.
That's interesting. So is this a familiar sense for you, that everybody else knows, you don't know?
When I get still enough to see it, yes.
Okay. So you recognize this. So as you kind of feel into this for a moment, just let yourself be aware. Okay, so there's some part of me, it feels like it's running, efforting, trying to get somewhere that everybody else knows. What's it like to just be in touch with that?
Well, the immediate quality is like wanting to hold it. It feels very small, and hold it in my hands, like in the palms of my hands.
Oh, I see. So no, when you say small, it is small in size, small in age. What do you mean?
Well, it feels like that. Well, what arose was some compassion, and then the physical action of, I'll have to show you like that. It's like holding my hands, and it's like fitting into the palms of my hands like that and holding something. I feel quite tender now in my, and some tearfulness arising as it's like as I want to hold that part of me.
Beautiful. So you see, simply seeing it, right? Bringing it into consciousness. This part of you that's felt like this. This is what's kind of showing up in your meditation. Now, as you're inquiring with it and you actually see it, some compassion comes, some tenderness comes. One more question. As you sense the tenderness and the compassion and the teariness, do you have a sense that it gets through to that small part? And take your time here.
Yeah, there is a stillness sort of landing down into my body, and it's like, little of that. Not quite as strong as more silent and subtle than that. Yeah, so and actually that's it's like my belly and my heart they're in my awareness right now, actually.
Right. Beautiful. So what you see by engaging just in some inquiry and finding out and seeing what's actually going on, your belly's online, your heart's online, and suddenly there's some relaxation and stillness as your being responds to this part of your soul. Beautiful. Beautiful. Right.
Thank you.
There you go. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for sharing that with us. Yeah, Beth. Go ahead. You're on. Oh no.
No, I'm just pausing. Dominic, I think what happened today was really quite profound, because in all of the training that I've learned about meditation, like Vipassana, going back years, no one really ever addresses what you're trying to disregard, right, to come back. And what I experienced today was when I came out of the meditation and I went towards what I was disregarding, it was really significant.
Hallelujah.
Yeah, and then even when you were just being with Noel, it was like, you know, then I really got to some deep stuff that my superego is constantly berating me. So I'm just really grateful for your teaching me about a piece that really, if you think about it, we're not taught that in meditation.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and the last I'll just say is that, you know, I'm way more in balance, you know, because I've received what you sort of taught to push away, and instead I went toward it.
Yeah, absolutely. And really, how, when you think about it, how can you find peace? How can you find peace and openness and rest when you're pushing away some part of your psyche? I mean, it's all just your soul. It's your consciousness, right? So all that's happening there is some kind of battle, internal battle. So it can't be peaceful.
Yeah, so it's like there's like a sense of like an opening to have less suffering and way more integration in the life and awareness.
Yeah, beautiful. I'm really happy to hear that. Yeah, you're very, very welcome. That was just what I wanted to address with this session tonight. Yeah. I mean, that's just the magic of inquiry, really, isn't it? It's just the open, curious, being in touch with whatever's there, whatever it is. You sit there and you're like a little bundle of hatred, and it make your meditation feel like hell. But afterwards, you can really get in touch with that place, and it's a doorway, boy, every time. There is nothing that isn't. There is absolutely no experience that can arise that is not a doorway and not a treasure in some very deep way. So lovely. That kind of brings us to a close this evening. So Michael just popped in the chat. We're going to be meeting again on the 20th of December. We will be making the recording of the session available in due time. And yeah, I'd like to thank you all for coming along and showing up and for your interest in inquiry, because it really is a great service to everyone in your life that you clarify and explore yourself and get interested in yourself, because it unlocks all the treasures of what you are. So I appreciate that. Good. Wish you a great couple of weeks and see you next time. Yeah, Michael put there as well. There we go. YouTube, Dive In Inquiry, divein.life. That's the website. And you can find out about inquiry courses and all sorts of other things there, which are great. And we have a regular Tuesday evening session now for people who have done the course, where we do something like this, but we go much deeper. So it's more into the sort of depths of the practice. You get to do a 15-minute monologue with some other students, and then we come back for a good hour, well, 45-minute long discussion and all that afterwards. So if that's of interest, you are invited. You can find out about that on the website too. All right. Good night, everyone. Good day. Good night.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dan.
Thank you, Dom.
Good night.